This right here is the type of flight I'm not staying on. Because imagine you're on a plane and it's about to take off, and all of a sudden a guy just get up and start shaking and then talking crazy, talking about this is the 6th time. We always crash, we always die, and we're stuck in a loop. What are you gonna do?
This video shows one of the rarest congenital conditions ever documented in dogs, short spine syndrome. The disorder occurs when the spine fails to fully develop before birth, causing the body to appear unusually compressed while the legs remain close to normal length.
Naik, woy! Naik! Wah, balik itu naon! Itu naon itu! Woy, naik! Woy, itu naon, woy! Wow! Itu naon!
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys. We talk about the most scary and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG Reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
One actually has a cell phone that can see into alternate dimensions.
This phone shows an alternate dimension. Now,
It's
we all should
insane.
remember Tom Cruise's legendary dance scene
Yeah.
in Rescue Business, right? But let me ask you, is he wearing sunglasses in this scene?
Yeah. Where are the glasses?
Did
That's
you get it
Mandela
right?
effect.
Clearly no sunglasses, but then why does every pop culture parody of this scene show them wearing sunglasses? Well, let's try using the cell phone on this scene.
Okay.
There's the phone. There's the glasses.
Yep.
There are the glasses.
Looks like sunglasses to me.
So he was wearing them during the
Now, there's
scene.
also those who remember the old classic Mickey Mouse with suspenders, and those who remember him without suspenders. Let's see what the phone says.
He has suspenders.
And
He always had
that Shaggy
suspenders.
from Scooby-Doo had an Adam's apple. The phone shows an Adam's apple,
What's
but
the
our
Shaggy?
current reality says no. Okay, this is too fun. Just one more. So clearly here we see that Curious George from the Curious George books has a tail. But if you look at what the phone's recording, there's no tail there.
At this point, I really think whoever's in charge are putting Mandela effects in our timeline to mess with us. For whatever reason, they are messing with us. I have no idea why. If you do, let me know. Stay weird.
Going on around
Okay.
the world right now. There were polar bears that were found living together in an abandoned weather station near the Arctic in Russia. A man dropped his uncle off recently at the Dubai airport, but the traffic home was so bad that his uncle got home to Pakistan before he got to his home in Dubai. And in China, it's apparently common to pay people to take you out of a traffic jam. They'll come pick you up on a motorbike, and then someone else will drive your car home. Grolmud, Palau is the least populated capital city in the world with a population of 0. I never knew that German citizens, when they turn 100 years old, will always receive a letter from their president. Auckland is now the host of the longest direct flight in the world from China to Argentina. Yes, if you didn't catch that, Auckland, New Zealand, because apparently the plane stops there for 2 hours. But the entire trip takes almost 30 hours without getting off a plane.
Damn.
Allergies are widespread here in the US, but not in Asia. The number of warships in the Chinese Navy has surpassed the United States.
You wake up inside a coffin. Could you repeatedly hit the lid to eventually break out? Well, you would only have about an inch of space. So plant your feet at the bottom, bend your elbows slightly, and keep your wrist straight. Then snap your fist forward while squeezing your knees and pushing your hips forward, using your whole body in one motion. Now, it would take hours of hits just to crack the wood. And even if you somehow managed to make a hole, the heavy dirt above would pour in, meaning it would fill the space in seconds, leaving you no room to dig out of the coffin.
So how did Kill Bill, how did she get up, bro? You guys know that was a Kill Bill reference, right, man? Classic movie, bro. 1 inch punch to get out of, to dig her way out of the, grave. Man, movie logic, bro.
of the Lake Peigneur incident in Louisiana? Lake Peigneur, no. Underneath this lake was a vast amount of salt mining underneath this lake. It just so happened this lake was also on an oil reserve. So in 1980, while Texaco was drilling in this lake, they accidentally pierced into the salt mine.
Oh no!
Drilled straight into it. There's 55 salt mine workers down the salt mine. All of a sudden they just started hearing like, and then all of a sudden it's like, you see this like, uh-oh, and then all of a sudden it's like, the water started just gushing in. Luckily, all 55 salt miners were able to get out, but this thing filled up within minutes. The guys that were running the barge up top, they heard this clanking sound, like, what in the world? And they kept on drilling, and all of a sudden, just this whirlpool started forming in the middle of the lake, and then all of a sudden it started getting faster and faster. They all escaped, but it ended up sucking in the entire barge. No one died in this incident. It created the largest waterfall in Louisiana. It was literally a 200-foot waterfall in the middle of this lake, sucking in the entire lake. And there was a canal leading from the lake to the Gulf of Mexico. It was such pressure that it went in, and when it hit, it blew back up like a geyser. And when it did that, the canal reversed, where the Gulf of Mexico sucked salt water into the lake. And so now this lake is a saltwater lake, and it's up to 1,300 feet deep.
Something that will forever haunt me is the Miami Mall incident and how they have successfully swept it under the rug. The fact that we know nothing about it, and it's been said that people's phones were taken and all those different things. Like, how come we did not get any type of update over this? You have never seen a police presence this big unless it got something to do with the president or something like that. The fact that one of the first stories that came out was that there were giant aliens or non-humans walking around the mall. Another story came out that there was a portal that was open and then things started coming through the portal. And mind you, this was during the time that CERN had turned on the Hadron Collider. Like, dude, the fact that they literally successfully swept this under the rug and no one is asking questions anymore about this Miami Mall incident really bothers me, because then it makes me think, what else have they swept under the rug? What else did they just move on past and we just forgot about? So many things. I feel like we need to get down to the bottom of what happened at the Miami Mall. We're literally coming up on 2 years, right? In January, we'll make 2 years since that happened, and we have gotten nothing on what actually took place at the Miami Mall to cause a presence this large. I know we started seeing like AI videos, at least what I think is AI videos of like these big, y'all see these big things walking, but I think that's AI. Like, what actually happened? Like, genuinely, what happened at the Miami Mall in 2024?
This could have...
Dang, I didn't realize it was coming up 2 years after the Miami Mall incident, man. I still remember when I was chilling on X, bro, or Twitter. Everybody was talking about it, and it seems like slowly the public, they just put it off, man. But people were saying there was like aliens there, bro. Like you said, that big of a police presence. They weren't there for nothing, bro. And they caught it off saying it was a hoax or something like that. But, bro, the way people were tweeting about it, man, all those police presence, bro. And I remember seeing like clips of like tall people, but I didn't hear he said it was like things were coming out of portals. That's new. Seeker, you guys got anything about the Miami Mall incident? Let me know.
Ended so tragically, but it didn't, because the father's massive freaking... So yesterday, during a Disney cruise returning from the Bahamas to Florida, a 5-year-old girl fell overboard from the 5th floor after she was put on top of the railings for a family picture. And according to those at the scene, the father didn't hesitate for a single second to jump in after her, risking his own life as well. Once he got to her, he held her head above water while desperately waiting for rescue teams to be alerted and save them. And passengers watched in horror as the father and the daughter drifted further and further away. Thankfully, however, an emergency team managed to get to them in time and returned the pair safely on board. But here's why people are saying that this is such a miracle, because falling off of a cruise ship often ends in death. And if their dad jumped into the water just a few moments later, the girl would have most likely been lost. Damn, bro better be getting the best Father's Day gift ever.
This right here is the type of flight I'm not staying on. Because imagine you're on a plane and it's about to take off, and all of a sudden the guy just get up and start shaking and then talking crazy, talking about this is the 6th time. We always crash, we always die, and we're stuck in a loop. What are you gonna do? At this point, flight is canceled. Let me off this, y'all. I'm getting my bags. I'm about to go get a motherfucking rental and I'm driving to where I gotta go. Unless it's overseas, then fuck that shit. And I don't care if I'm in first class. I'm still not doing it. I don't care. And the crazy thing about this video is the man that was yelling, he wasn't trying to get attention. He really sounded like someone who was tired of going through the same loop over dying again, and again. We all seen Final Destination. That's what that remind me of, fool. You can really hear the fear in that man's voice. That's why I know this man is not going crazy, fool. He must really went through the same loop. So let me ask y'all a question. If you was on that flight and you heard someone say that, are you gonna stay in your seat, or are you getting up and you're exiting the plane? Because I already told y'all what I'm doing.
Okay, this has to be a sign. We can't believe anything anymore. Astronomers revealed that 3i Atlas appears to have reverse thrust right before it disappeared behind the sun. You know, the interstellar visitor passing through our solar system that's totally just a regular comet. It's reversing thrust, like appearing to slow down as if it's about to land. Now stop right there, debunkers, because scientists are giving a natural scientific explanation to this reversal. But something about this just feels so orchestrated, like someone or a group of people are behind this all with an ulterior motive, like an actual psychological operation. And every update that comes out about this all but confirms just that. So scientists say that as a comet gets closer to the sun, what they call a tail flip is actually quite common based on the angle we're viewing it from, which makes it look like the tailing trail behind a comet flipped from our perspective here on Earth, and hence reverse thrust as it makes its way around the sun, and typically happens at perihelion, which is an object's closest approach to the sun. Now coincidentally, researchers state that perihelion is also when an artificial spacecraft would apply reverse thrust to slingshot itself via gravitational assist, applying the brakes to slow down, using the sun's gravity to change direction or even speed up, creating the anti-tail we are now seeing. And this is exactly why this object is so controversial. Everything about this whole sky event is just pure debate bait. The scientists are going to insist it's a totally natural comet tail flip, and the tinfoil hatters are going to tell you it's an alien spaceship getting ready to visit us. Now even Avi Loeb, the main professor behind this whole 3i Atlas claim, stated, if 3i Atlas is a massive mothership, it will likely continue along its original gravitational path and ultimately exit our solar system, essentially making this a bit of a recon mission rather than a full-blown invasion, but also kind of giving him an easy out while standing by his claim if nothing actually happens. He also says NASA has photo evidence that it is an alien probe, that they are purposely gatekeeping and refusing to release to the public, who have been bizarrely silent about 3i Atlas conveniently as soon as it started getting close to us. Maybe the Anunnaki just want to check up on us to see what we've been up to since they last came around. It's been a couple thousand years after all. But whatever this thing is, I can't help but feel all the news around it has been intentionally designed to rage bait everyone into arguing about it. Every observation made about it seems to have an equal natural and alien explanation to it, so have at it and don't take things too seriously. Unless there's a massive mothership in our sky being broadcasted around the world, then we can start to get a little serious about it.
First, there was 2 mass shootings where multiple people lost their life. Then they just announced that Rob Reiner and his wife was found in his Brentwood home in Los Angeles dead. Mind you, when they first released this information, they said it was a 78-year-old man and a 68-year-old woman that was shot. Now TMZ is saying that allegedly they were found with stab wounds. But here's the part that hits hard. Rob is a famous director, a public figure that was living in a very secure part of LA, in a murder investigation with little info released so far. So they're saying that firefighters were called to the mansion in Brentwood, Los Angeles for a medical aid call. And when they walked in, they found 2 dead bodies. A man, Robert Reiner, and his wife. But here's the biggest question. Why were the firefighters called? And why were they called for a medical call instead of just being called for a homicide call? Then you gotta ask, why did the police immediately bring in the robbery division? And then you gotta ask, who made the 911 call and why? At this point, they're not saying much. but it's a lot of things that need to be questioned.
This is one of the rarest events in nature a human can lay their eyes on, an atmospheric phenomenon known as a sun candle or light pillar forming at full intensity. The column forms when sunlight reflects off of flat ice crystals suspended in calm, freezing air, stacking the light into a heavenly beam stretching to the ground. Conditions have to be absolutely perfect, and most sun candles are often faint or brief. This one is unusually bright, tall, and sharply defined, making it a once-in-a-lifetime sight for skiers and snowboarders. This video shows one of the rarest congenital conditions ever documented in dogs, short spine syndrome. The disorder occurs when the spine fails to fully develop before birth, causing the body to appear unusually compressed while the legs remain close to normal length. Affected dogs often have little to no visible neck and a shortened, rigid back, though many can still walk and function completely normally. Fewer than a handful of confirmed cases have been documented worldwide, making it so rare that most veterinarians will never encounter one in their entire careers.
Wow, that looks like the
whole documentary of Jake Paul, him being like hypnotized and woo!
The best way to describe the feeling is just like a new iOS update.
Jake Paul pays this guy $1 million a year. To what? To put him through hypnotism throughout the year. Like every month he'll come over and he says, unlocks his brain so that he believes and he can manifest himself into becoming a champion.
That's fire, I'm not gonna lie. And this is why I charge $1 million a session, $10 million a year.
Marcel can always help me unlock different parts of my brain and almost like opening the highways of thought and possibility.
I thought, like, plot twist, it was gonna be like, since Jake Paul has a really big ego, I thought he would like hypnotize him to take it calm it down. But it's the opposite. It's like, yo, you really want to be this big guy? Increase the ego, like.
Yeah.
Press enter, press save, log out. Eyes up, wide awake!
Thrilling.
$1 million in a year to hypnotize yourself, bro. You gotta know how much money you have to have, man. Just lying around, just say, hey, I need a hypnotist, bro. On your own personal hypnotist, man. To pay him $1 million a year to put him in a trance, to make him the best, bro. And whatever he's trying to do, obviously boxing. Have you guys ever got hypnotized before? I personally could say I never got hypnotized before, bro. So I don't know how that process works, man, but seems like it's working for him, bro.
To start an exciting fire, they feel they'll die either way, so they prefer to light it and see what happens. And even Elon Musk said, if it all goes off the rails, I decided in that worst case scenario, I'd prefer to be there when it happens. Which is it's just justifying racing to our collective.
For the last 10 years, he was this slightly hard to believe voice on the subject of AI. He was talking about it being a huge risk and an extinction.
He was the first AI risk people. Yeah, he was saying.
I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years.
This is more dangerous than nukes. He was saying, I try to get people to stop doing it. This is summoning the demon. Those are his words, not mine. Supposedly, he used his first and only meeting with President Obama, I think in 2016, to advocate for global regulation and global controls on AI because he was very worried about it. And then really what happened is ChatGPT came out, and as you said, that was the starting gun. And now everybody was in an all-out race to get there first.
Crazy. That is scary, bro. Earth just opens up and it just swallows you. That drain gone, bro. Why would you build a parking lot over a well? That's just stupid. I can't believe they got the car out.
The downfall of Iron Mouse needs to be studied. The way Iron Mouse described what happened between her, Rakai, and Ray, she made it seem like these guys came up to her and asked her the most insanest question ever. Iron Mouse even said, they rushed me and I was shaking. And this is where it gets even more worser, because you saw the interaction. Ray and Rakai, who are usually the two most rowdiest people on the planet, when they approached the iPad that Iron Mouse is on, and yes, Iron Mouse is on an iPad because she is a VTuber. Trust me, I wish I didn't know what a VTuber was either. But when these two two approached Iron Mouse, they were literally the two most nicest people ever. They literally said that she is the most legendariest VTuber of all time. And I get it, Iron Mouse has a health condition where she has to be a VTuber, so Iron Mouse can't be there in person, and that's why she's there on an iPad. So there could have been something lost in communication between the two. And now this is where it gets even more sadder, because Iron Mouse going on stream the next day saying that she was harassed and they made her feel uncomfortable. Ray and Rakai, they made an apology video when there was literally nothing to apologize about. Are you team Iron Mouse or team Ray and Rakai?
What do you guys, man? Team Iron Mouse or Ray Rakai? I remember when I just saw that clip, the way she said they was asking her questions, and then when I saw the full clip, they said they was just like asking her what did she look like or something like that. I think that's why she said she was kind of uncomfortable, but obviously, man, people weighed in with their opinions on it, bro, so it took on a life of its own, man. I didn't even know. I'm about to say at first I didn't know what a VTuber was too until I saw that clip. So she wasn't even there in person. She said she was uncomfortable. People was like, bro, she could have just turned off her screen. So bad. Streamer world is crazy, bro.
Y'all, when I tell you the western side of the world is going through it right now, man, something is happening underground. They're having tons of earthquakes, cyclones, monsoons, floods, mudslides. Look, y'all, check out this mudslide. This is the most craziest mudslide I have ever seen, y'all. Look at this. Sumatra Island in Indonesia is going through it, y'all. Throughout this whole thing over here, y'all. And when I mean Indonesia, it's different parts of Indonesia as well. It's not targeted one specific area. The whole Indonesia is going through it, y'all. Look at this. Oh my God. Cars completely submerged. Is that a cow? That's a cow. Cars, homes completely submerged. People are literally missing. Thousands of people are missing. People are stuck on roofs. What is this? What is that? Is that a chicken floating? Y'all, the animals gotta save themselves. Y'all, this has been happening day and night. Day and night. Look at this, y'all. We are literally in the days of Noah. Y'all, who else is building their ark? This is crazy. Look at this. Oh my God. The water was so high and so violent that people had to climb trees, power lines, and even to get on top of homes in order to survive. Look at this guy. This guy nearly drowns. He almost gets pushed out by the water. If the people wasn't out there giving him a rope, he would have never made it. Oh shit, that shit broke. Look at this. Look at this. He has to climb this thing. This concrete block. Oh my God, y'all, this is crazy. The shift is here. He's got to climb, and they got to throw him a rope in order to get on top of the roof.
He's going to jump in again?
Yo, I don't know what happened to his sweatshirt, but okay. I mean, hey, man, buddy, he's going to make it one way or another. But look at this. That water is powerful, y'all. Y'all, just take a look at the damage that was done. Y'all thought Jamaica was bad? Y'all thought North Carolina was bad, y'all? And they have been going through this for months. Monsoon on top of monsoon, mudslide, floods. Oh my God, heavy rain, heavy wind. Look at these homes. And some of them are blue. The ones that are blue are kind of standing, I guess, huh? They're kind of standing. But look at this, y'all. The shift is really here, man. There's so much going on. Let me know down in the comments how you feel about this video. Like, follow, and share for more videos like this. Let's continue to get it, y'all. Peace in.
Facts that school never taught you. Part 3. In the late 19th century, if you had a cavity, the dentist would give you cocaine in order for you not to feel it. In the 1950s, doctors would recommend pregnant women to smoke to help alleviate stress and control weight gain. It was also told that smoking increased the chances that you would have a healthy baby. Really glad we don't do that one anymore. In some cultures, toe amputations are needed for people who want to be ballerinas. It's believed that if you have a toe amputation, it would help you be more on point with your big toe, which I guess technically isn't wrong. Christopher Columbus mistook manatees for mermaids. In fact, he made love to a manatee. Now, I know what you're thinking, how would that even work? Well, it worked. In fact, it worked so well because manatees have an identical vagina to humans. Do it that way you will. You have an extra 2 inches of pee-pee length that you'll never be able to see. But it still counts, right? Since the 1980s, there are 222,000 unsolved serial killer murders. And that's just in the United States. If that's not scary enough, you will walk past 36 serial killers in your entire lifetime. So make sure you're always watching your back. Make sure to like and follow for tomorrow's video. Next up, we'll mess.
That was a wild time back then.
Part 3. First American football game was played just 4 years after the Civil War. The last death by firing squad occurred in the U.S. the same year Toy Story 3 came out. Shakespeare was still alive while England was colonizing America. The Roman Empire fell just 40 years before Columbus discovered a new continent. Mozart was in his prime while the United States signed the Declaration of Independence. Before 2016, the Cubs hadn't won a World Series since the Ottoman Empire existed. The first plane crash occurred the same year the Model T came out. Crazy?
Some crazy facts, man. We're learning.
Now Australia is the drunkest country in the entire world, a new study finds. So the global study heard from over 32,000 people from 22 countries. It revealed that Australians on average got drunk 27 times throughout the year, and the global average, bear in mind, is 15. The average Australian got drunk, not tipsy, more than once every 2 weeks, and that's just the average. Australians also tripled the global average on seeking emergency care for their drinking. And in case you were wondering, the top 5 drunkest countries in the world are UK in 5th place, USA in 4th, Finland in 3rd, Denmark in 2nd, and good old Australia in 1st.
I really thought it was gonna be the UK first, because I know UK. There's like you can drink over there when you like, if I'm not mistaken, like me like 16, 17, right, at the pub. So that's shocking. I was not expecting the Australians, man, to be the drunkest country, bro.
Things you didn't know what they were for. 1. The purpose of those little buttons on jeans is called rivets, and they are placed in areas of high wear to prevent the jeans from tearing. 2. The small pocket on jeans was originally designed to hold a pocket watch. It's a 19th century design. 3 dash. The first mark at the bottom of the glass represents approximately 1 shot. The second line is for wine, and the third line is for beer. 4. The shape of beer bottles was designed to encourage people to hold them by the neck, preventing the beer from warming up before finishing it.
Terrifying
Wow.
things you don't want to
Interesting.
play, part 32. You and I. The rules for playing this game are simple, and the rewards for winning can be great, but be warned, if you lose, the penalty will be worse than death. To play the game, you'll need to awaken your mirror twin. All you'll need to do this is a deck of playing cards, a match or fire starter, and a full-size mirror. Once you have acquired these items, you'll need to set up the mirror in a quiet room and wait until midnight. Once the clock strikes 12, you'll need to remove the joker cards from the deck and burn them in front of the mirror while saying the words, "I know you're there, come out and play." This will awaken your twin, allowing the game to begin. To begin the game, you'll need to deal yourself 10 random playing cards face down. Before you reveal the cards, you'll need to say out loud whether you think there will be more numbered cards or face cards in the hand. If you choose correctly, then for every card you got right, you will gain an extra year of good luck. For example, if you pick face cards, and there are 6 face cards in the hand and 4 numbered cards, you will gain 6 years of good luck. But if you choose wrong, then your evil twin will be released from their prison. They will seek to take over every part of your life, locking you in the mirror in their stead. Comment whether or not you would play this game, and follow for more.
Crazy history facts you didn't learn in school. Part
Won't be playing
6.
that.
Abraham Lincoln is in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. George Washington opened a whiskey distillery. During the Salem witch trials, the accused witches weren't actually burned in the perception of time. Part 3. First American football game was played just 4 years after the Civil War. The last death by firing squad occurred in the U.S. the same year Toy Story 3 came out. Shakespeare was still alive while England was colonizing America. The Roman Empire fell just 40 years before Columbus discovered a new continent. Mozart was in his prime while the United States signed the Declaration of Independence. Before 2016, the Cubs hadn't won a World Series since the Ottoman Empire existed. The first plane crash occurred the same year the Model T came out. Crazy?
That's that Cubs fact, bro. It's crazy.
This weird looking fish is, but this is why I won't swim in canal.
That, my friend, is a sheep's head. Now, you might be wondering why this fish looks like it should still be pissed about the Euro Cup. It's because they use those teeth to grind up shellfish, mussels, and clams, and in some places you can hear them munching away. You can find them in Cape Cod in Massachusetts, through Florida, Gulf of Mexico, all the way down to Brazil. Also, they have a bad habit of stealing bait from fishermen. Luckily, they're not super aggressive, and they don't normally bite people unless you literally ask for it. But with a mouthpiece like that, they don't need to touch you to do damage to your mental. Also, the saltwater sheephead is apparently sweet tasting when cooked, but I wouldn't know because I do not have the strength to try one. Also, they're not the only fish with a dental plane. This is a triggerfish, and like the sheep's head, they look like they only exist because of a drunk dare. But unlike the sheep's head, the triggerfish lives up to its name by being highly aggressive and territorial. And the worst of all is the Titan triggerfish, which is mean enough to send you to bed with more stitches than you woke up with. Now hear me out, but he looks just like...
Oh, what the...
You will believe
roasted Travis Scott.
Twist at the end of this story. So during the 1970s, a young couple living in Utah went on their first date. And the two of them were having a good time on this first date, but they could both tell that this wasn't really going anywhere between the two of them. It was pretty awkward between the two of them over the course of their dinner, but they decided to be friendly and just stick it out. It was getting to be pretty late at night, but right before the young couple left the restaurant to go their separate ways, the young man asked the young woman if she wanted to go on a late night hike with him in the Utah mountains. The young woman was kind of taken aback by him asking her to do this, considering the date didn't go too well. But he explained to her that he had gone hiking in those same mountains many times before and that there was nothing to be worried about. And so the young woman decided to agree to go on this hike with her date because she thought, what the heck, maybe this will spice things up. However, when the young couple began their hike in the woods, the two of them felt very off about things. As the two of them went deeper into the forest, things began to feel very eerie around them. Both of their heartbeats began to rapidly speed up, and the two of them kind of both thought to themselves that maybe they should turn back around. But since it was their first date, neither of them wanted to be the one to speak up and say, hey, I think we should go back, so they kept on walking forward. At this point, it was basically completely black in the forest. And then suddenly, the two of them heard some movement coming from some nearby bushes. And it was right at this point when the man stepped on something soft and squishy that was very different from the rest of the trail. And it was right at this point where the two of them just felt like they should get out of there, so they both left. Ironically, this scary experience in the woods led the young couple to become closer, and eventually, a few years later, they got married. 10 years later, the married couple was making breakfast one morning while watching the news. And on the news this particular morning, they were interviewing a serial killer a couple days before he was sentenced to be put to death. And one of the questions that they asked him was if there was ever a time where he was almost caught years before he was actually caught by police. And surprisingly, the murderer said, well, yeah, there actually was this time where I was nearly caught in the woods. He went on to say that about 10 years ago, he was in the mountains of Utah trying to dispose one of his victims in the woods, when all of a sudden a young couple literally walked right into the crime scene. The killer said that the young man in the couple actually stepped on the body of his victim that he was trying to drag away into the woods. However, since it was so dark in the woods, the young couple couldn't really see their surroundings, so they just kind of turned around and left, being spooked. The serial killer that the young couple unknowingly caught in the act was Ted Bundy.
Trust your gut, man. Trust your gut. It will literally save your life. That's what you need to take from that story, Seekers. It's crazy in Utah. Don't we have like a grave digger mountain in Utah, bro? That sounds like you asking for trouble, man.
This is the most disturbing Japanese serial killer that you've never learned about.
This is Tasomo Mayuzaki, and this is his real hand.
If his name is hard to pronounce for you, don't worry about it. You can call him his nickname, the Human Dracula. Now, the reason you might not have heard about this case is because the details of this case are so disturbing that Japanese media tried to hide this. From 1988 to 1989, he was convicted of abducting, murdering, and mutilating young girls from the ages of 4 to 7. The way he would do this is he would drive to a local park or maybe even a playground, and he would have a friendly conversation with these young girls so that way they'd be able to trust him. The second they were able to trust him, he would then lure them into his car by saying, hey, I'll give you a ride somewhere. Once the child would get in his car, he would then strangle them and then mutilate their bodies. As if this isn't the worst part, he would collect their hands as trophies, he would grind up their bones into a powder, put it inside of a package, and mail it to the victims' families. The reason he did this is he enjoyed taunting the victims' families by basically saying, you're never gonna catch me. He would also drink their blood and even eat the hands. But boy was he wrong, because in 1989 he was literally caught in the act of trying to pick up a little girl.
He was arrested and put on trial, and he never took accountability for what he did. He had no remorse, and he kept blaming it for his alter ego. He was eventually executed in 2008, and this is why your parents tell you to never trust strangers. There are so many disturbing cases in Japan, but Japan doesn't like people to know about them because they try and keep everything really discreet. They basically don't want the public to freak out about all of these cases, but if you want to know the real deal secrets behind Japan, make sure to hit the like and follow button, and I'll explain of some in the next video. Lost inventions that could have changed the world. In the late 1990s, inventor Jan Slow created the slow digital coding system. He claimed it could compress an entire multi-gigabyte movie down to a file size of 8 kilobytes. This would have revolutionized the way we store and share data. Slout demonstrated this to executives from Philips by playing 16 movies simultaneously from a single 64 kilobyte chip. And the Philips execs told Slout that he was about to be, quote, the richest man on earth. However, 2 days before the source code was going to be handed over, Slout mysteriously died in his garden of a heart attack on September 11th, 1999. And his decoding software was never recovered.
Nah, that's definitely something fishy, man. Bro was about to freaking change the memory software game forever. And then 2 days later, he has a heart attack. Literally after that guy said, you're about to become the richest man on earth. Something not adding up, man. I think something happened, bro.
The catacombs of Paris don't scare me, but you know what does? The Palermo catacombs. Now the Paris catacombs are filled with bones, but the Palermo catacombs has 1,200 full mummified bodies. Also, I'm showing you these photos for educational purposes, but like if you're squeamish, beware. And this is one of them. Like she literally looks like a sleeping girl. But she's so old. Her name is Rosalia. She's one of the last bodies that was put in the catacombs, and she passed away in 1920 due to the Spanish flu. And look how good of a condition she's in. But this is what I'm talking about. Like, the bodies lining the wall are creepy. And she never really decomposed. Like, she's 60 years old in this, but she literally looks like she's like a sleeping child. I can't show you his face, but a lot of these faces are decomposing, and then a lot of them are really, really lifelike, which is what I find so creepy. If you want, just Google this, and pictures will come up, and you'll get to see the faces. I just can't post them. In 2009, she started getting a little discolored, so they put her in a glass case to preserve her better. And people noticed her eyes opening and closing in the glass case. But people said when her eyes would open, they could see how crystal blue her eyes were. But then when her eyes were closed, you couldn't see this. But this happened because her eyes, like, weren't actually fully closed. So the light would sometimes play tricks. But this is like a thing that happens with the bodies in the catacombs here. Would you visit the Palermo catacombs? Let me know. And follow my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for more. It really helps when you interact.
Nah, not me.
Presence some hikers have seen? Apparently, multiple hikers who have been in the same extreme survival situations reported seeing the same ghostly presence. It's known as the third man syndrome, and it's when a supernatural presence appears to give comfort and encouragement to someone. I did a whole episode on it on the podcast, but this is one of the stories that really stood out to me. So in 1983, James Sevigny and his friend Richard were hiking in the Canadian Rockies. They were up part of a mountain when all of a sudden James hears this thunderous roar coming from up the mountain. And as he looks up, there's just thousands of tons of snow pummeling straight towards him.
Avalanche.
Get hit hard, and when James wakes up, he's in bad shape. His body had been tumbled around like socks in a dryer. He had all these broken bones and internal bleeding. And so he thinks this is it. He just lays down and accepts it. But 20 minutes later, he feels this person come up behind him, and he's under the snow, mind you. And this person says, "You can't give up. You have to live." Somehow James crawls out of the snow where he sees 2 cross-country skiers in the distance, and they come over and rescue him. Richard unfortunately didn't make it, but James lived. Some people attribute this to guardian angels, but what do you think?
We finally have a full trailer for the new horror movie Bring Her Back, an A24 horror movie by the same directors who made Talk to Me a few years ago. I'm pretty excited about this one. Usually I'm a big fan of horror movies where like a ritual goes wrong and then all hell breaks loose. Bring Her Back looks like it'll involve some kind of demonic possession, but we don't really know that much about the plot yet. So let's watch the trailer together and see what the movie could be about.
Alright. she's doing? Or maybe she's trying to do a ritual?
New sister and brother, Oliver. Oliver lost his family just like you guys. Needed someone to keep you in special care. Listen, I gotta tell you a secret.
That white ring for?
Beautiful things. Listen. 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 Some people believe the spirit stays in the body for months after death. We can bring her back.
Okay.
This is the most inbred family in America. These are the Whitakers, and they're from a town called Odd in West Virginia. It's really sad. They don't have contact with the outside world, so they'll bark and grunt in order to communicate. Here's how all of this happened. Henry and John are twins. Henry has a son named John, and John has a daughter named Gracie. Gracie and John are cousins. They then get married and have 15 kids. Also, Gracie's parents were cousins. Photographer named Mark Leda met the family in 2004, and here's what he had to say.
But we were in West Virginia, just driving around, looking for anybody interesting to photograph. And this windy road turns into like a gravel road, and then turns into a dirt road. And there's shacks. Every once in a while you see a house. Like, somebody lives there? Very poor. There's a shack on the left, there's a trailer on the right, a small trailer. And there's about 10 or 12 people just walking around. And it's like everyone you look at, it's like their eyeballs are going this way. And not a single tooth among them, not a single tooth in any of their heads. And they look at us and we look at them and they start yapping and screaming and barking. And yeah, some of them are just staring at us and drooling.
He raised a lot of money to help them with these pictures and videos of the family. He's friends with them and he takes them shopping, and he and the police check up on them every once in a while to make sure they're doing okay. If you like my content, follow my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for more. It really helps when you interact.
Crazy story about how we found them.
Let me get a pair of twins. All right? They're born the same time, they're the same age. And now one of them I will send off at 90% the speed of light. And the other I'll keep down here on Earth. So we can ask, how does their aging rates compare? Okay? Turns out, this twin that I've already sent, his clock ticks 44% as fast as this twin's clock. Our clock here on Earth. So, this twin is aging more slowly than this one. That's at 90% the speed of light. Let's pump it up some more. How about 99% the speed of light? Now the time ticks at only 14% the rate, as it does back here on Earth. How about 99.9%? We're getting closer and closer to the speed of light itself. And at that speed, the clock ticks only 4.5% as fast. So, what does this mean? Tell you what it means. This twin that traveled for 5 years and comes back, if they went at 99.9% the speed of light, after 5 years,
how old?
They're 5 years older.
Wow.
We have aged 110 years.
Damn, what the?
It's called the twin paradox.
Okay, some creepy facts. We're logging in, bro. Not
If
I.
you want to keep that thing as a pet, be my guest. But first, there's some things you should know. Meet the fang-toothed moray eel. It's basically a fully carnivorous sea serpent with a mouthful of broken glass. Not to mention, they have a 900-pound bite force to go along with those daggers. Oh, and their teeth? Yeah, they face backwards. That way, when they grab a hold of their prey, it ain't going nowhere. And this is where things get weird. Inside their throat, they have a second set of jaws with a second set of teeth. And these jaws can protrude forward to help grab the prey and pull it down its throat. Come to think of it, that sounds really familiar. Anyways, what makes it even worse is they have absolutely no predators. And that's because they have this really thick slime substance inside their body. So if anything were to bite into them, they would just get a mouthful of slime, which will cause them to choke and retire from taking in oxygen. At this point, Mother Nature's just picking favorites. Moral of the story? I don't think that swimming doctor's office would make a very good friend. Maybe leave it there. And as always, follow for more facts.
This is
Thanks for letting us know.
Story part 25. Warning. This is not a joke. The information that's going to be shared is dangerous and life-threatening. Do not, under any circumstance, commit the actions that will be narrated. This is the world's most dangerous book ever. Shams al-Ma'arif. This book was written by Ahmed al-Buni in the 17th century. But technically, the author of this book is not a human being. I never did and will never read this book. And this is your second warning. Do not read this book.
I won't.
Ahmed al-Buni practiced black magic, and he was in contact with the most powerful jinns and demons before he passed away. The jinns were the authors of this book. The elder generations, like our moms and dads, have heard about this book, and they were warned by it. There are thousands of horrifying stories of people who read this book. Shams al-Ma'arif explains everything about black magic, how to get in touch with the world of jinns, how to marry a jinn, and the sacrifices you have to do for the devil, and much more. Unfortunately, this book can be easily found online. One day, a Saudi Arabian man that read hundreds of books for a living decided to read this book specifically out of interest and love for all books, without fearing the consequences behind it. He reached the chapter that teaches readers how to get married to a female jinn. He laughed about it. He tried the ritual to experiment it. The first night, after finishing the whole book and completing the marriage ritual, he felt someone breathing next to his face. And on the second night, he felt a hand touching his feet. And on the third night, he heard her voice. The man was officially locked in a marriage with a demon. 5 years go by. He met a normal, beautiful woman that he fell in love with, and they both decided to get married a week before the wedding day. The bride, the bride's parents, and the groom's parents all pass and die in 3 different car crashes. These are the consequences behind this book. And it's also known from many stories of people that have died from reading the first few pages. If you don't finish reading the book, you will get killed. All my stories, all of them, are true incidents that happened one time only. But this book is a product that is permanently available online. I beg you, do not go anywhere.
A tornado of 1974 that showed the dark side of nature. April 3rd, 1974 started as an unusually hot and nice day for that time of year in Xenia, Ohio. People were out and about, enjoying the day. Some people were laying out in their yard, getting sunshine, which is what one survivor was doing that we'll talk about in a minute. But most people had no idea of the weather that was heading their way. It wasn't until about 3:30 that dark clouds started rolling in, and many of the survivors described the sky turning green. So, one survivor, his name was Michael. He was about 15 years old and had just gotten out of school around 3:30. So he probably made it home a little before 4. His mom was still at work. She worked in downtown on Main Street in Xenia. And I feel like we all know that feeling of getting home from school, you have the house to yourself, maybe make a snack, put on your favorite TV shows. That's basically what was happening. The weather was picking up outside, but he wasn't really concerned at the moment until the TV was interrupted, which was very rare back then. And also there was no tornado warnings back then in that town at the time. But the TV interruption was of a guy, I think a meteorologist named Gil Whitney, saying that there was an unprecedented tornado breakout in other states near Ohio, which was the super breakout of 1974. Hundreds of tornadoes started breaking out across 13 states, destroying thousands of homes, killing hundreds of people. So at around 4 p.m. the first TV interruption happened in Xenia, saying that the outbreak is happening nearby and that Ohio might get some of the tornadoes, but not Xenia specifically. And then about 15 minutes later, a second interruption happened on the TV, and I'm sure he started freaking out at that point, but they were saying like Xenia could be in the projected path of some tornadoes, but nothing saying that there is one yet. And then at 4:30 another TV interruption happens, but this time they're saying take cover, a giant tornado is barreling towards Xenia right now. So Michael calls up his mom at work, and she actually answers and says that she's aware of the situation and that the weather is starting to pick up and get really bad. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh my god, it's here, and then the line goes dead. So that obviously freaked him out, and he realized how bad the situation really was, and decided to jump in the car and go look for her, which may have not been the best idea, but he did survive, so. But according to him, as he started making his way towards downtown, there was just so much debris that he had to keep finding different roads. As he got closer, he just realizes how bad it really was, and to the point where he had to jump out of his car and just start running because there was so much debris, and even like climb over the derailed train. 3 different tornadoes had combined into one giant tornado that was a half a mile wide, then headed straight for Xenia. And we'll pick this story back up in part 2, so if you guys are ready for that, let me know.
Sounds crazy, but they said the whole sky turned green? What was going on? First time hearing about, I guess, a tornado doing that. I'm gonna have to check that out.
You know, at night when you have to turn the lights off in your house and you get to that last light and you switch it off and it's completely dark, and it feels like all of a sudden your house has now become the most haunted house in the world, and you have to make a run all the way back to your bedroom. There might be something to that. Now, when we are doing this, right, we put ourselves in a vulnerable position. And I think anything negative, any kind of spirit that is a negative entity knows this. This is the best time to scare us. And they're trying to see if they could scare us just a little bit to gain entry and to allow them permission to come into our lives. So this is a story I heard out of Rockford, Illinois. There was this girl, and she lived in this bigger house all alone. And it started to get late. She wanted to go to bed. So she starts going through her house, turning off all the lights. She gets to the last light, which is in the living room. And when she hits it off, and it goes completely dark, she gets that feeling. Well, she walks through her living room, and as she walks past her kitchen, she turns and kind of glances in, and she sees a woman, like in a white gown, just standing in the kitchen. And she's like, "Who are you? What do you want?" And the woman just starts walking towards her. So she takes off running to her bedroom.
Smart.
She closes her door, locks it, and she calls the police. The police show up, and she says, you know, come inside, like there's a woman in my house. I'm in my bedroom, locked in there, I don't want to come out. So they go through her house, they search it, they don't find anyone. And they said, ma'am, are you sure you didn't just see something? Like, you know, are you just tired? Maybe it was like a hallucination. And she goes, no, I'm for sure there was a woman in my kitchen. So they said, well, we can't find anything. You probably are just tired. Why don't you just go to bed? So they leave, and she goes back up to her bedroom. And when she lays down in bed, she kind of feels like, you know what, maybe that was just, you know, in my head. Maybe I'm just tired and I need to get some sleep.
Okay.
So as she turns around to adjust herself in the bed, there's the woman standing right next to her. And she jumps up, she runs out of her house, and she said as she's in the front of her house, she can see the woman looking out of her window, staring at her.
boyfriend 108 times. In 2018, 26-year-old Chad O'Melia's life was savagely taken in his apartment in California by his girlfriend. 33-year-old Bryn Spetcher says that on this day, she was tricked by Chad into smoking a highly potent strain of marijuana, which caused her to go into psychosis. She says that she remembers immediately walking into the kitchen and grabbing several knives and stabbed her dog before going after Chad and taking his life. Authorities also said that it wasn't easy restraining Bryn and that the taser didn't even work on her. Now, Bryn's defense argues that she reacted this way because she only smoked less than 6 times in her life, which that combined with the high potent marijuana explains why she took her boyfriend's life. Bryn ended up only receiving just 2 years of probation, 100 hours of community service, and no prison time.
Wow. Okay, look at look. The hell is a Charminus?
An orangutan was kept in a brothel, dressed up, and forced to live like a human. Pony was taken from the wild as a baby in Borneo after her mother disappeared. Instead of freedom, they trapped her in a place where she was treated like a possession, but not kindly. They kept her in a brothel made to wear clothes and makeup and forced her to be around people all day long. Really sad and disgusting part is this wasn't a secret, this wasn't hidden. Many people in the village knew what was happening. In fact, when a team arrived to rescue her, they faced resistance. Some locals did not want Pony to leave. It took a huge effort from a lot of people to be able to bring her to safety. So sad. Like, after the rescue, Pony was deeply traumatized. She even forgot how to behave like an orangutan and had to relearn basic skills like eating natural food or climbing trees. Pony's story really shows us why protecting wild animals in their home is so important. This is not the only story like this, as crazy as that is. Without this kind of protection, animals can suffer in ways that people could never even imagine. What do you think should be done to help animals like Pony? Follow for more.
Moral of the
What do
story,
you think?
don't sleep on the first floor. In 2014, a young woman woke up to strange noises coming from under her bed. When she finally worked up the courage to look, there was nothing there. The next morning when she got up, there were footprints leading right up to the sliding door that went right into her room. She instantly calls her dad, who comes over and traces the footsteps back to a house of a very troubled teen who admitted to spying on her. But he swore up and down he hadn't done that in weeks. They don't believe him, and they threaten to call the police if they ever see him on the property again. That night, the girl's on her phone in bed when she starts to hear the strange sounds again.
It was breathing, bro. Oh, hell no. I've been to Jets, I'm gone.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 18. A man from Queens once spent 5 months in jail completely unaware that his bail was just $2. Since spiders molt, when you see what you might think is a dead spider, it could just be that the spider left behind its exoskeleton and is now bigger than before. Almost everyone on Earth is walking around with a bunch of poop inside of them. Scientists accidentally killed the world's oldest living animal, which was a clam that lived to be 507 years old. Statistically speaking, at least one person who comments on this video will not be alive tomorrow. The real reason you shouldn't eat raw cookie dough isn't because of getting sick from eating raw eggs. It's because you shouldn't eat raw flour, which contains fecal matter from all the birds flying over the field and pooping on the wheat.
Okay. Well, I never ate raw flour before. Don't plan to do that. Where he at? I feel like something washing him, bro. I don't like this vibe.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. Horror movies use tracks that include infrasounds. They cannot be heard by human ears, but they are known to induce anxiety and heart palpitations. 44% of the information shared on worldwide news is inaccurate. To date, the US lost 6 nuclear bombs and never recovered them. According to paranormal experts, when you have a nightmare, real spirits or demons are trying to contact you, but your body rejects them and wakes you up for safety. In 1954, a man arrived at an airport and had a passport issued by the country of Tory, which does not exist. Police locked him in a high secure room and he vanished. There are computers for the Amish, which have no internet, videos, or music. There are organizations that manipulate the stock market. Spending just a few months in Antarctica can shrink your brain. There's a lot more, like for part 7.
How? It's too cold there, bro.
This is the first picture the world has ever seen where Putin, Xi Jinping, and Kim Jong-un are all together. And the significance of this gathering cannot be understated. Today, we witnessed China put on the largest military parade in their history. All major roads were closed, schools were shut down, and they even had weeks of midnight rehearsals and security preparations to make sure that today went off without a hitch. One by one, world leaders started arriving, most of which are the names that you would expect, like Kim, Putin, etc. In fact, for good old Kim, it took him 20 hours just to get to China, because he got there on his infamous slow armored bulletproof train, traveling between only 45 and 80 kilometers an hour. However, also attending were world leaders that in the past few decades, they lent more to the West, like Turkey, Egypt, and Vietnam. In fact, no Western leaders attended, apart from 2. We're looking at you, Serbia and Slovakia. And when Donald Trump saw that Putin, Kim, and Xi were having a 2.5-hour private closed-door meeting, he tweeted this: "May President Xi and the wonderful people of China have a great lasting day of celebration. Please give my warmest regards to Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States." Now, it wasn't just what they spoke about that will be of concern of Western leaders watching. It'll also be the new weapons that China unveiled. These included new powerful laser weapons capable of taking out swarms of drones, burning electronics, or even blinding pilots, new nuclear ballistic missiles with a range capable of striking U.S. mainland, giant underwater unmanned drones, and also a number of weapons which display China's heavy investment in the future of warfare, including drones, smart tanks, AI-assisted weaponry, and of course, even robot dogs. In fact, today on Chinese social media, all of the top searches were about the parade and its weapons, including the 4th one talking about their new ICBMs having the striking range that covers the entire world. But for Xi Jinping, what means more than showing off new weaponry is showing off a new world order, one that challenges the West and its allies, but also one where China is positioned right in the center. In fact, in Xi's speech overlooking the military parade, he said the rise of the Chinese nation is unstoppable. Strength may prevail for a time, but over the long arc of history, it's reason that wins. So the question is Donald Trump's foreign policy pushing these countries together to strengthen their relations, or was what we saw today inevitable and would have happened no matter who was in office?
We have some crazy
Toss
things
down
going
below.
on. The Telegram founder says that he has fathered more than 100 children. A Mississippi man spent 940 days in jail waiting for a trial that never came. The Swiss government has now forbidden the use of donkeys to protect against wolf attacks. What happened there? A woman came out and said that she went blind after doing 13 cartwheels in a row. A Turkish town was accidentally hotboxed after police burned 20 tons of weed. A 9-year-old boy lived alone for 2 years after being abandoned by his mother, surviving on scraps from neighbors without any hot water or heating while still attending school and excelling academically. The demand for Ozempic is so high that it has boosted Denmark's entire economy, and in Sweden they were forced to put a footnote on their quarterly GDP report because Taylor Swift caused such a huge spike in their growth. A teenager left her shoe at a Danish prince's birthday party, hoping for a Cinderella-like effect. And it worked because the palace posted a picture of her shoe on Instagram with a caption asking if it was Cinderella. I said Cinderella. Cinderella, send. 75% of all Americans now prioritize finances over love when finding a partner to marry.
And this is why you
Says
should
about that
never
coin.
kiss a baby on the lips.
This is a result of somebody kissing her on the mouth. When parents say not to kiss your children, this is
This is one of the reasons. This is a recent photo of 8-year-old Breland. She was born healthy, but as a baby, she was kissed on the lips by someone who had a cold sore, and her life changed forever. So after this happened, she began having seizures and became extremely sick. And since as a baby, your immune system is not developed, the HSV infection attacked her brain and left her with a severe brain injury. Her mother explains that the left side of her brain is 60% damaged and the right side is 10% damaged. And because of this, Breland has never been able to walk or talk, and doctors don't even know how long she'll live. There was actually another child in the past who had the same thing happen to them, and they only lived until the age of 7.
NASA doesn't want you to know that they just
Crazy.
woke up Cthulhu. Back on August 21st, they announced that there was going to be this mission called Operation Deep Cave. And what they told the public is that it was for research purposes, which was mainly true. But on day 5 of the investigation, they sent out ships with submarines because they thought they found something on the ocean floor. And these submarines were looking for the entrance to a very specific cave, which after a while they found. And I don't know if you can tell what I'm trying to say, but these caves were a little abnormally large, like they could be holding something. Like something very big could have been living in these caves for thousands of years without us realizing it. Now, one of the subs bumped into a wall in the cave and a bunch of rocks fell down, revealing like this whole other area of the cave that they didn't know was there. They heard a really loud bang and then it was silent for a while. There's footage, don't worry. And then what we found out this morning is they heard a roar and the cave began to shake. And some creature emerged from the deep. And this creature was about 150 feet tall. And this morning they released the documents and the footage and the rest of that story, and people believe that this is Cthulhu. Now I would show you the footage, but this is a creepypasta, so there is none. Send this to a friend to prank them, and hit the plus for more. It really helps when you interact.
She almost got me,
Has
bro.
been walking for 9 years. He's walking from Ethiopia to the tip of South America to retrace the path of early human migration. This guy is a journalist who has won 2 Pulitzer Prizes. He could be like sitting in a Manhattan apartment somewhere, and instead he's walking across basically the entire planet. He's already made it from Ethiopia to China on foot. He's been walking for 9 years. Along the way, he's interviewing local folks from some of the most remote places in the world, unreachable by car. He does a really good job of centering local stories. He's not even shown in most of the footage. This video is not sponsored. I just think this is one of the coolest projects in the world that people don't really seem to know about. It's called the Out of Eden Walk. It falls under the umbrella of National Geographic, but does not have very many followers on social media or anything. Like, it doesn't seem to be that well known, which is crazy because it's like one of the coolest things anyone on the planet is doing right now. I don't know how long he's going to be doing this for. He probably has another 9 years. I don't know.
Would you walk for 9 years?
Babysitting always freaks me out. So in 2014, Sarah DeWalt was babysitting for a new family that had just moved into her neighborhood in Ohio. The family consisted of 2 young children under 10, but when Sarah showed up that night, the parents kept talking as if they had 3 children. There were 3 sets of pajamas laid out, there were 3 bowls of ice cream on the counter, but the family clearly only had the 2 kids. So that night, Sarah and the kids are winding down watching a movie when all of a sudden Sarah starts hearing noises in the house. There were footsteps shuffling like someone else was there, and she had this overwhelming feeling that she was being watched. So she gets up to check on the noise, but then the kids turn to her and say, "Oh, that's Bonnie, don't bother her." Sarah leaves it because she's freaked out, but then later that night she goes to check the nanny cam and she sees this image captured in the hallway. She stayed up until the parents came home, but she never went back after that.
Who's Bonnie, bro? Babysitting kids, man, you gotta be careful. It's raining and he's out there in the middle of the night just recording. I don't think so.
This is why you should always sleep with your lights on. In 1991, a man named Christopher Case was found dead in his bathtub, fully clothed in the fetal position. When police interviewed his best friend Sammy, she told them about a very disturbing phone call she got from him the night before he died. On the call, he told her that the previous night he had woken up to what sounded like whispering coming from underneath his bed. When he went to look, he couldn't move. As he laid helplessly, he watched a black figure pull itself out from underneath his bed. Once it was fully upright, it reached down and began choking him until he passed out. The next morning when he came to, he felt his neck and it was swollen and bruised. And then he saw blood on his hands and he saw that there were deep uniform incisions on each of his fingertips. As he's saying all this to Sammy and telling her how scared he is to go to bed that night, he suddenly stops and he says, "I hear whispering outside my room." Then the phone went dead.
Truly disturbing image. A Mexican TikToker and her family were recently found wrapped in plastic and dumped in their pickup truck. Along with Esmeralda was her husband and 2 children, which were only 7 and 13 years old. In fact, this happened in the same state that TikToker Valeria Marquez was killed in just a few months ago. And the family's bodies were found on August the 22nd inside a van that had been abandoned at a mechanic's shop. Police arrested 3 men who were described as the managers of the mechanic shop, but they were later released due to insufficient evidence linking them to the crime. Local media report that those men were then kidnapped after leaving Jalisco's prosecutor's office. According to initial investigations, the attack was not directed at Esmeralda, but rather her husband.
Scary Things You Know Are Real, episode 2. Have you ever just put in headphones and been listening to music very, very loud and thinking that you heard someone, or you heard someone call your name or a door shut? That was literally just a ghost letting you know that they're there. Pretty much like a "what's up, dude?" Pretty fucking creepy. Have you ever just been laying in bed and wondering why you hear that noise on your roof? Well, that's probably a ghost and you should be aware because he is coming. I don't know what he's coming for. Maybe he's coming to get some snacks or some shit. I really don't know, but please stay away. At least for me. Have you ever just been in the shower and thought that someone was watching you, even if it's through like the door or even the shower curtain? Trust me, you are not imagining it. Bathrooms are actually one of the #1 spots ghosts and demons actually hang out. I know it sounds stupid, but genuinely, that's like their home. That's like where they be at. I can't be the only person. Every single time I'm walking at night, I always feel like someone's watching me. You hit the nail on the head there, buddy. Someone is actually watching you. It is a ghost. Humans can actually feel the presence of a ghost. So that's why every time you're walking around at nighttime, if you're outside doing this and that, you always feel like someone's watching you. It's because there probably is someone, you just can't see them. You can only feel their presence. Drop a like and follow me on Instagram for more.
Ghost Stacks, okay, he's putting us on, bro.
Here's some crazy history you definitely did not learn in school. This is a picture of Grand Central Station in 1929, and apparently it's not possible to take a picture like this anymore because the entire station is surrounded by buildings, and obviously that would block the sun rays. If TikTok existed in the 1920s, this would have been a trend called horse manning, where you basically pretend that you're headless by having another person in the photo. I guess it was a playful way for friends to be creative. Cool. Let's not bring that back. OMG was first used in 1917. George Washington passed away with about $594 million in today's money of net worth. He was receiving a presidential salary of $25,000 or about $900,000 today. And apparently that was about 2% of the entire government's budget at the time. The old Danish criteria for common law marriage says that if you have a mistress that sleeps in your home for 3 winters, has a key, eats with you, sleeps with you, then you're married.
How all the rappers listened to cross the line, and we were all wrong about them. Even the biggest, most powerful names had to do something to go from regular stars to global icons. But let's get one thing straight. Nobody gets there with just talent and luck. And new rappers starting out, that's a whole different world. It's not like they drop a track and instantly lose their soul or something. In the beginning, it's a slow climb. They start buzzing. But at some point, they hit a wall. That point where you're no longer just an artist, you become a global brand. And it's usually right then that they make a critical choice behind the scenes, one nobody really notices. Travis Scott before Astroworld was already good, but after that album, whole different league. Playboy Carti, we don't even need to say much. The whole vibe around him is straight up dark, and he owns it. And when you actually listen to some of the lyrics, it's hard not to feel like they're coming from somewhere else entirely. Like it doesn't even sound like them anymore. Everyone here will have their own opinion and make their own judgment, but still, be careful what you're listening to, because sometimes it's not just music.
They be putting the music to distract us.
About women that are actually pretty crazy. Part 5. Taller women are more likely to have cancer, whereas shorter women are more likely to have smaller babies. I don't think that's a fair trade, but it's not my doings. In Greece, throwing an apple at a woman was considered a marriage proposal. Now, if anyone did that in America, and they threw an apple at the woman they were trying to propose to, she would definitely walk up to him and calmly go, "Yo, why'd you throw that apple at me? That ain't cool. Now I'm gonna have to beat you, bruh." 80% of women will ask questions that they already know the answer to, and the reason being is they're not trying to interrogate us, they're just trying to see if we're listening and if we actually care about what they're saying. So, just pay attention, guys. A lot of women lose 2 to 3 hours of sleep every night due to overthinking, anxiety, worry, whatever that may look like. And I'm not saying guys don't do this too, but women are linked to having less serotonin, which helps them go to sleep. So women, if you're still up, get on the Xbox, play some COD, and smack some noobs for us.
Right.
Creepy facts will give you nightmares. Let's go. If someone murders you, there's a 1 in 3 chance that your killer will never be found. Scientifically speaking, trees could grow inside of our lungs. There are over 200 dead bodies on Mount Everest, and no one retrieves them because they serve as landmarks for the other hikers. If you die inside your home, your cat is going to want to eat you. The reason dogs like squeaky toys so much is because the squeak mimics the sound of their prey. And finally, tarantulas can swim. Ugh.
What the heck? It can? That's nightmare for me.
Beyonce, you're done. They gotta constantly praise Beyonce, because behind the scenes, she's way up there in the shadow hierarchy. Yeah, you heard that right. That dark side's slowly getting known by the public. It's actually real important that everyone knows, so share this video. If you've been paying attention, every year at the Grammys, some star praises Beyonce. This year, it was Miley Cyrus.
The Grammy goes to... Even if it's not you, Beyonce, I might just say this.
They gotta do it to remind the world she's above all the other stars, that she's the supreme star. That's what it means to be the supreme star. That's why she's been running the music game for so long. In that secret, well-structured hierarchy that Beyonce, Kim K, and plenty of other stars seem to belong to, Beyonce's got a special spot. She used her natural talent to grab the chance of a lifetime, which helped her reach that level of influence. Most people don't realize, but it must have taken her a long time to become the top goddess of their industry. And that's not even mentioning Jay-Z, who plays a big role in all of this. Let me know if you want to hear what happens when someone disrespects the hierarchy. I'll drop part 2.
Well, you know, Beyonce's, up there when it comes to the music industry, but yeah, I think she actually did something behind the scenes to get that spot. It could just be her natural talent. Same. It's 2025, we still here, bro. So they was wrong.
This doll is 10 times more haunted and cursed than the Annabelle doll, and I don't know why nobody's talking about it. We all know the Annabelle doll as being one of the poster child of the Conjuring universe, on top of being one of the most haunted, if not the most haunted doll in the Warrens collection. Until I stumbled upon this photo of the Shadow doll, also owned in Anne Marie Warren's collection. This doll is said to be made of human bones and nails, constructed during a ritual. It is said that this doll's main purpose of construction was to curse you, infiltrating your dreams, and could even stop your heart. Word for word from Anne Marie Warren. Now look, do I think this doll can actually curse you through the photo? I have not gone to sleep yet, so I don't know. But I would venture to say that's not true. I would say maybe if you saw it in person, decided to take a picture, or talk to the doll in person, maybe you would be cursed. But through the picture, that's not going to happen. If the main idea of constructing this doll was to curse people, seeing it in person would definitely do something to you. Because we've heard the stories of people who decided to go and see the Annabelle doll, then gotten into absolutely terrible car accidents, almost losing their lives. Now I'm just saying, Annabelle is cool. Annabelle is a very cool story, and the poster child of the Conjuring universe. Why have we never had a movie based on the Shadow doll? This doll was made to curse people, and it was made to look scary. I don't know, that's just me.
I don't know if I can visit Mexico.
Why?
Bro, they have the scariest urban legends.
For real?
Yeah, they got La La Chuza, which is a shape-shifting witch that looks like an owl and is 7 feet tall with the face of a woman. And you're not supposed to go outside if you hear whistling in your window.
What else?
Oh, La Llorona. She usually stays near bodies of water. She wears a white gown, long hair, and she's always crying for her children that she actually drowned. So you're next if you see her while driving on the side of the road.
Oh my god.
It's like this abandoned Disney park in Veracruz, Mexico.
What about it?
It has a statue that moves at night. There was 2 people exploring the abandoned park and caught it on video. Fam, you gotta check this out.
No, aguanta, deja
Oh, he's
que
locked
mi
in.
cámara enfoque bien, deja que mi cámara enfoque bien. Deja que mi cámara enfoque bien, güey, eso no es celular. No digas perras mamadas. No digas mamadas. Güey, es que era vestido también así, güey. Amarillo.
And it's static, frozen. I'm good. I'm good on Mexico.
But they do have beautiful women.
You right. We might have to risk it.
Yeah, I'm taking that risk, bro.
This is why you should never explore abandoned buildings. In 2013, 3 boys named Paul, Tim, and Max all lived in Louisiana. There were tons of abandoned houses in their neighborhood left over from Hurricane Katrina, and the boys all loved to explore them.
One day, Paul asked his two friends to explore an abandoned hospital a few miles out of town. They agreed and the three boys set off. They explored every floor of the hospital except for the basement. But upon walking down to the basement, they discovered that it was flooded with over 4 feet of water. They walked down the stairs and shined their lights on the murky water. It took them to the middle of a hallway, but they couldn't see down either side. Paul thought it would be a good idea to wade down the flooded hallway. His friends stayed back when all of a sudden there was a huge splash. Paul shined his flashlight down the basement and saw a huge creature swimming towards him. His friends began to scream at him, and Paul ran back to the staircase. The three boys escaped the hospital and went home to never return. They believe they heard an alligator, but will never be sure.
I think it was.
What is going on with all these celebrities and their appearances? Did they all sell their souls or what? Let's talk about the most shocking case. Look at Miley Cyrus. The photos you're seeing now weren't taken that far apart. Normally, we all age naturally. That's just how life goes. But even if her aging process was sped up somehow, this kind of change isn't normal. How the hell can someone's appearance change this much in just a month or two? Something's off. She's hiding something. Look at the photo. This is her just a month later. What the hell happened to Miley Cyrus? Seriously? As far as we know, she didn't get any plastic surgery. Look around her eyes. It's like they're sinking in. That kind of thing doesn't just happen on its own. She went from this to whatever this weird version is. And it's the same exact thing with Demi Lovato. She went from that version of herself to this. That's literally night and day. Come on, tell me you all see the difference. This isn't just some small change. It's a huge transformation. She didn't just lose weight or switch up her makeup. Her whole face and body look different. It straight up looks like two completely different people. I need y'all to tell me what you think in the comments. Am I losing my mind, or is there seriously something wrong going on? Miley Cyrus, Ice Spice, who's the next victim? Whoever's behind all these changes seriously needs to stop, because this is starting to get scary.
Recent discoveries, part 4. Scientists have found an 18,000-year-old mummified puppy in Siberian permafrost with its teeth, nose, and whiskers still intact. DNA testing has not been able to determine whether Dogor is a wolf or dog, since it's possible that he represents a common ancestor to both. Last summer, a massive drought in Texas uncovered some fossilized footprints at Dinosaur Valley State Park, most likely belonging to a theropod called Acrocanthosaurus. The prints had been covered by water and sediment for over 113 million years. This incredible video shows archaeologists opening an ancient Egyptian sarcophagus in front of a crowd of people. The coffin contained the body of an ancient priest and had been sealed for over 2,500 years by this point. More than 100 old books, manuscripts, and documents, some 1,200 years old, were recently discovered in the attic of a church in Romania. The trove hadn't been touched in hundreds of years and contains lost information about Transylvania and its history.
You will not believe these people exist. At number 1, we have Pralajani, the man who only consumed air. This man lived in a remote cave in India and only came out once a year to visit his family. He had not drunk or eaten anything in over 70 years. Prahlad said the only nutrients he got yearly was just nectar that he put in his hair. Scientists, however, were curious to find out if this man was telling the truth and decided to run some tests. The test results came back and it was confirmed that this man had not drunk or eaten anything in 70 years. Next, Shaolin monks have trained themselves to have the ability to nearly walk on water, float in the air, and also do a handstand with just 1 or 2 fingers on the ground. Finally, we have the Iceman. And no, I am not talking about Drake. I am talking about this man named Wim Hof. He can withstand freezing temperatures and exposure to direct ice for long periods using his unique breathing techniques. And he once did an ice bath for 1.5 hours.
Damn.
By the way, all the pictures and clips you saw in this video were generated using the Meme Stories AI tool. All I did was paste my idea, picked a style, clicked generate, and got exactly what I wanted. If you want to try it, check the link in my bio or drop a comment. More?
Yo, what's up? These are the most horrifying ways to die. Part 2. Death by Scaphism. Back around 500 BC is when Scaphism was considered one of the most disturbing ways of execution and torture in the world. And here is why. Basically what happened is the victim would be thrown into a wooden coffin or boat, and their hands would be tied to the top and bottom of the boat. And they would be force-fed milk and honey to make them use the bathroom So they would be covered in their own feces and sent upriver. And it wouldn't be until later on down the stream when insects would start to come and attack this victim, and they couldn't do anything about it. In fact, some would even go inside of their body, lay eggs, and they would be eaten from the inside out. Some of the victims would just go ahead and die from dehydration and starvation, but the others would die from infections inside of their body from the insects, parasites, and other things that were laid inside of it. And don't forget, it took a victim around 17 days to die, so that's how long they experienced the torture.
Did the angels come down and cut down all the giant trees? Watch this.
Enoch describes this perfectly. And this book was left out of the Bible on purpose from our predecessors, but it describes the angels coming down and cutting all these giant trees down to flood out the Nephilim, the giants, these beings that stretched 4,500 feet tall. These trees would reach the heavens, and that's why you always see the flat mountaintops.
That was an ancient
massive trees. Way back in the day, giant trees, this was a much bigger realm. And they came and they cut all this down because they wanted to get rid of the Nephilim. They wanted to get rid of the giants. It is said that there's about 200 of these trees that were cut down. And if you take a look around, that's pretty accurate. There could be even more. But the evidence is right in front of your face. And when you cut a tree down, water will start pouring out from the trees. But it's as above, so below. The water's above the firmament. This is where all the flooding came in. It was right after they cut the trees down was when we experienced this massive flood. And it wiped out all of the giants, all of the Nephilim. And this was mentioned, again, in the book of Enoch. And they left it out on purpose, guys. Like, they left this shit out on purpose because they don't want you to know the real origins of humanity and our true history.
I'll tell you some things
Giants?
I learned today. Apparently, less than 10% of all plastic has ever actually been recycled. Orange chicken was invented at a Hawaiian Panda Express in 1987. Boeing once filled an airplane with potatoes to test its in-flight Wi-Fi because potatoes mimic the way humans absorb and reflect wireless signals. Sometimes I feel like a potato. I guess sun exposure can cause skin cancer, which is an obvious one, but it also reduces overall mortality rates, including from cancer. Apparently the population density of Manhattan is now 40% lower than it was in 1910, when it peaked at 2.2 million residents. That's a lot of people back then. Now it only has 1.6. Also, Central Park is only the 6th biggest park in New York City. That one blows my mind. Apparently Burger King is not allowed to use the name Burger King in Mattoon, Illinois, because there is a restaurant there already protected, as they made the name a state trademark in 1959 and have defended it in court against Burger King.
Now, why does everybody get on this app and act like that new iPhone 17 is the best thing since sliced bread? And if you don't know, Apple just dropped the previews for the new iPhone 17. And just like every other iPhone, the iPhone is trash. Look at this shit. They're about to play in everybody's face all over again. Oh, this is the biggest iPhone lineup ever. There's so many different colors. So they got 4 new iPhones. The iPhone 17 Pro Max, the iPhone 17 Pro, the iPhone 17 Air, and the iPhone 17. And the best thing out of everything is the iPhone Air. Made of titanium. And the battery lasts all day. Nobody don't care about that shit. You got 2 or 3 cameras. One with 1 camera, and then you got another one with 2 cameras. And again, Samsung wins. Nobody asked for none of this shit, man. Nobody asked for AirPods that translate shit. Who asked for that? I'm going to say this again. Because I have an iPhone. I'm filming this on an iPhone. But I also have a Samsung. Samsung is truly better. I'm not going into the details to tell you everything this shit do. You go down the rabbit hole and see. And listen. I know everybody is about to say, yo, the 17 is coming out. I'm about to go waste my money. I might just go get it too. That don't mean I can't not like it. Apple, y'all, you did it again. Y'all need to straighten your shit up, man. For real. Back on the subject of...
Y'all team Apple, team Samsung, bro. I don't freaking upgrade my phone till the clunk side on me, bad. To me, bro, it's not worth it, man. Wasting that unnecessary money trying to keep upgrading every single year. They coming out with these phones like that, so I don't know how some of y'all be keeping up with it, bro.
is Walt Disney, and his animatronic was Lean With It, Rock It With It. There's a video of another malfunction of this exact animatronic at the end, and it is super creepy. I don't know why this animatronic freaks me out so bad. It looks so extremely human. I don't like it. Also, there is a rumor that Walt Disney's soul inhabits it. You know all the rumors of like Walt Disney's body is cryogenically frozen on Disneyland, or like his body is there somewhere. This animatronic holds his soul. And that's why it keeps breaking down, because he does not want to be an animatronic, which I do not blame him. I would not want to be either. But those eyes are extremely realistic, and I am frightened. This is what it's supposed to move like. Like, the movements are extremely fluid, like creepily so. They look super, super human. I watched this video of this malfunction, and it just stops working, just like out of nowhere. I don't know why this creeps me out so bad. Does it scare you also? And what do you think about his soul being trapped inside it? Could you imagine? Just like stuck for all eternity, having to perform like a dancing monkey. Like, no, I don't like the thought of it. So like his soul is trying to rebel and be like, I don't want to do this. And so it just keeps breaking down. Watch this and let me know what you're thinking.
Yeah, Five Nights at Freddy vibes, bro. Those animatronics. It looks too fluid, bro. Oh, he glitched out. Heard him say, uh-oh.
Are we living in some sort of simulation or matrix? Why do I ask? Because there's a viral video that's floating around the internet that shows a lunar eclipse. And once the eclipse occurs, you see multiple moons in the sky. You haven't seen the video, take a look at this. Look at this right here. Watch as they zoom in. There's the eclipse right there. And there are 3 other moons present in this video.
4K.
Is that some sort of reflection? What is going on? I paused the video right here because you can see right up there, that is the actual moon being covered during the eclipse. What are the other 3 moons that are in front of it? Here it is fully blown up for you as clear as I can get it. As you can see, the eclipse is right there in the background. What are these other 1, 2, 3 moons that are in the frame? I run the video to see if it was AI. I put it through Grok and through ChatGPT. Both came back saying that the video is real and was recorded somewhere in Europe or in Russia. So what did we just see on that video? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, I'd love to hear from you.
This woman has spent the last 3 years building an entire tunnel system under her house. And yes, she has neighbors. You see, initially, Carla only set out to build a storm shelter under her property in Virginia. But instead of hiring a team of professionals with 0 qualifications, Carla set out starting hand mixing her own concrete, laying down hundreds of blocks. She blasted through multiple jackhammers. She built a freaking elevator to haul out more than 200 tons of rock. She installed pumps for excess water and even had to build a ventilation system so she didn't suffocate down there. I mean, one small mistake playing IRL Minecraft can literally mean death. That's why it's even more mind-blowing when you find out that not only is she doing all of this work by herself, spending 50 to 100K of her own money so far, but also she works in freaking IT. She's entirely self-taught. Is this what happens when you realize you have free will? And what makes this story even crazier is that she's not digging underneath some isolated house. She lives in a normal neighborhood. So naturally, this freaked a lot of them out because, I don't know, sinkholes reaching the netherworld, angering the nethermoth. So I guess it makes sense that one of her curtain-twitching neighbors snitched.
We have some complaints. Basically, there's some construction going on.
And in December 2023, local authorities turned up to her house. They inspected her tunnels, declared them unsafe, and ordered her to halt construction. Oh, but the government had no idea who they were up against. She taught herself how to mine. Paperwork and legal code? That's some wind-down bedtime reading. So she went to war for over a year, and I cannot stress this enough. She somehow won and got the government to allow an unqualified individual to dig tunnels
as a hobby underneath a suburban neighborhood. This woman needs to run for president because I believe she can achieve anything. Her permits were approved in March, and today the tunnels continue. Next, she says that she'll be using the 2,000-year-old stone blocks to build a castle. And she'll probably get approval to build it on top of the freaking White House.
Say goodbye to your
Yeah.
who live in the UK. Data protection on Apple devices is one of their biggest things. You know your data is safe, but not for long in the UK. It's been in talks for a long time now, but basically UK government wanted a backdoor into Apple devices so that your data wasn't fully encrypted and they could access it, for the reason that they could then track criminals and see their text messages and things like that without it being protected. But of course, data protection is one of Apple's biggest things that they pride themselves on. That's why they're so big. But this tool was actually removed so that your data isn't actually as protected as it was before. In recent days, there's been reports on the government actually walking back and backtracking on this backdoor demand after meetings with Trump and the US. The UK also have said that Apple hold too much power by completely controlling the market, so by pushing people in the UK away from Apple would let other developers compete fairly while having strong protection still. But Apple have said you wouldn't be protected as much, and it's a huge data risk to citizens of the EU because they would be going to other parties external from Apple and it wouldn't be protected. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'll keep you posted, but let me know your thoughts.
Y'all, I don't know what timeline we in, but all I know is shit is getting dark. This lady walked inside. I think this is a hospital. She walked up to this lady. The lady gets up from her chair to greet her, and she tries to bite her, y'all. I'm talking about take a chunk out of her neck or her head, something. All I know is she tried to bite her, y'all. I'm gonna play the video. Y'all look at this shit. Y'all let me know what y'all think.
Let's break this down.
This shit, y'all.
This ain't The Walking Dead. What the hell?
Like what? Bruh. What are you doing in this situation?
But she did.
Is that a demon or witch? Which one? That shit is crazy, fool. I don't know what's going on right now, y'all. Y'all let me know what y'all think she was. A witch? A demon? Like what? What would make someone walk up like that and just try to bite somebody? A zombie? She didn't look like a zombie though.
You guys heard of the Nazca mummies? Yeah, so this is in Nazca, Peru. 2015, they found 200 mummified remains, a couple dozen of which were fully intact, but they're these humanoid-looking creatures that have 3 fingers on each hand and 3 toes on each. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it's just super weird, and they've done a ton of studies on these things. They did like a DNA sampling from one of its, or a couple of their flesh or whatever, and 30% of their genetic makeup is identified as something on this earth that can be identified as something, so the rest is not. Or is it the other way around? So a lot of these creatures, they still had their organs inside of them. So they did these CT scans, and one of them that they call Maria, they said it was pregnant, but it looked like it had like 3 eggs inside of it. But near the cave where they found these, they found a petroglyph of this creature that has 3 fingers on each hand. And then a lot of their art, they talk about the sky people. And so the theory is that they made these giant things in the dirt.
Yeah, to talk to
communicate, or even like a landing strip for these things.
Part of their history, part of their culture.
Y'all remember when I told y'all to watch out for the eggs and the chickens, right? Now people are reportedly popping up with giant parasites inside of their eggs. This looked like a 2-foot tapeworm that it came out of an egg that a woman was boiling. And this is not the only incident where there's parasites that is coming out of people's eggs. What is going on with our food source? First the chickens catch the buck clap, then the prices of eggs go up, and not only are the prices of eggs go up, now they got little friends inside of them. There are multiple people that are popping up and showing that they have live specimens inside of their eggs. So please check your eggs before you consume them. You might have little creatures in them. And I'm not telling y'all to completely stop eating eggs, but before you consume them, you might want to put them under a microscope for further investigation. But y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think about these parasites that's popping up all over in people's eggs in the comments. Like and follow for more wisdom and stay tuned. And if you want to learn on how people are getting paid residual income from content creation, comment down below 18 and I'm going to send Matthew your DMs. Be aware of the bot clap.
Check your eggs.
They're gonna start getting the mark of the beast.
Oh.
Yeah.
Today I'm gonna get a microchip implanted in my hand.
But it was some Asian guy, right? And this is his thought process. Whenever he gets like Uber Eats from his apartment, you know we have the fob key? Yeah. Sometimes I forget it, right? So I'm gonna put the microchip in my phone, right? So now he's like, oh, sometimes I do leave my phone. What is actually always on myself? So he's like, yes. And there's a video, them planting the needle in it, and he goes into his elevator, goes like this.
Programming is done now, let's go try it out. So now shake up the top of my hand and select my phone.
Look, the mark of the beast, look.
It's not that serious.
It's not that serious.
It's not that serious. You can wear a necklace.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much. You can wear a ring, bro.
Seekers is happening right in front of us, bro. I'm gonna put a microchip inside of itself just so he can order Uber Eats faster and get it faster. Really? I ain't getting that chip.
AI-powered assassination drones combining facial recognition with miniaturized explosives represent what experts call humanity's most dangerous technological development since nuclear weapons. Unlike traditional weapons requiring human operators who can hesitate or refuse orders, these autonomous systems eliminate human judgment from kill decisions entirely. Commercial drones, facial recognition software, and precision components are readily available and becoming cheaper every month. A single operator could deploy thousands of these systems simultaneously against journalists, activists, politicians, or anyone who challenges powerful interests. Security experts warn this could end democratic society by making traditional protection obsolete and giving authoritarian regimes unprecedented assassination capabilities. The implications extend beyond warfare to threaten open discourse itself. When anyone can be eliminated autonomously, public participation in democracy dies. International AI safety researchers are desperately calling for immediate global treaties before this technology becomes widely deployed by state and non-state actors. The window for prevention is rapidly closing as technical barriers decrease and components become more accessible worldwide. When autonomous killing machines become as common as smartphones, what happens to human civilization?
At David's concert tonight, he finally spoke out for the first time since the body was found in his Tesla. And what David said has a lot of people mad. And a lot of people thought that David was going to end up canceling his show tonight in Minneapolis, because a majority of people think that David is innocent. However, he was just dropped from his Hollister and Crocs collab, which led a lot of people to believe that he isn't actually innocent. And even more worse, ever since David's car was towed about 6 to 7 days ago, where there was a body found decomposing in the front trunk of this Tesla, to which a lot of people are saying that there is no way that David would do this, as he has literally been on tour for the past few weeks, where the car, although is in David's name, was found abandoned in LA. When it was found in the tow lot, people were saying that it had a stinky fishy coochie smell. And now there has allegedly been another body found in a different car in LA, and this is where it gets even more insaner. Tonight when David was performing in my city of Minnesota, after not canceling his show, when he initially came out and performed, he literally just acted like nothing was wrong. And then it finally got to a part of the show where he was talking to the crowd. What I saw, he literally did not talk about the car at all. This is all alleged. I believe David's innocent, but do you?
You guys ever heard of the green line test? No. Okay, so there's this theory that in pictures of couples, if you draw a line that splits straight through their body, one line will be leaning toward the other line. So the theory goes, whoever is the line that's leaning toward the other will get their heart broken by the other. Some examples are Steph Curry and Aisha Curry.
Yeah, she's almost leaning away, too. I think they broke it down to a science.
Another example, Tom Brady and Giselle.
Oh, the writing was on the wall.
Another example, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett.
That's a strong one. I think it's dead center on that one.
Another example, Kanye West and Kim Kardashian.
Man, that's a close one. You know, Kanye is Kanye.
And last but not least, the one that breaks my heart absolutely the most.
Oh, no.
Barack Obama and Michelle Obama.
Yeah, but they're still together.
It didn't say it has happened. It says it will happen.
I believe in them. They strong Obamas.
I hope they prove it wrong.
If these aliens really do come out of the water, where's the pictures? Where's the video? What? No evidence?
How do you tell someone a public story but keep the documents private? TikTok, my video is for entertainment purposes only. Do you want to know what the elites try to tell all of us when they say these aliens coming out of the water? Are you ready for this? If I told you this is connected to black people, we have 4 elements on this planet and black people represent the water element. You ever wonder why black people can dance so good? Seem like they just move and flow like water? What if I told you black people do not belong on this planet, but we belong in the ocean and we've been trying to escape for the longest? DreamWorks logo is trying to tell us what happened. There is a group of aliens that pulled us from the ocean. And now that we had a second moon, it's going to try to pull more of us from the water again. You think this was just an accident? They had some boy sitting on top of the moon pulling spirits out of the ocean? Our ancestors tried to warn us. Did you listen?
Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. Gods are gonna trouble the water. See that band all dressed in white. Gods are gonna trouble the water. The leader looks like the Israelite. Gods are gonna trouble.
Did anybody else's moon look like the way that Vegas's moon looked the other night? Because I've been looking for the moon here for a few nights and I haven't found it. So everybody else in Vegas was catching what appeared to be the moon or what they're calling the moon, but it was changing, it was fluctuating. Like for instance, all right, check this out. This is all in one night, all right? Y'all see that, right? Now look at it. Y'all see that? Why is it darker now? The person said this changed within like 2 minutes. And then y'all see? Look at this. It's changed again, y'all. What is going on up in the sky?
I don't know if this is picking up very well, but our moon is blood red. And I mean blood red.
Do y'all see how big it is just sitting up there? And here's another video with, I don't know what this is over it. I don't know if it's a plane or UFO. It's got blinking lights, but again, this is Vegas.
Bro, it's a red moon right now. I don't know where y'all at, but in Las Vegas it's red.
Take a look at this shot of the moon just sitting in the skyline of Las Vegas, y'all. Look how eerie this thing looks. Look how eerie this thing looks, y'all. What the, bro, this is crazy. And the fact of the matter is that the moon isn't even here in Florida. Does everybody have a different moon? But yeah, y'all, did anybody else see the moon? Let me know down in the comments below, y'all. Like, follow, share for more videos like this. Let's ship this here. Let's continue to get it. Peace out.
Life, part 1. If your house smells like fish for absolutely no reason, there may be an electric fire. If someone tries to kidnap you, scratch your attacker because now their DNA will be in your fingernails. If you ever find yourself buried in an avalanche, just spit. Your spit will follow gravity and you could dig the opposite direction. Wake up in the middle of the night to the smell of gas, do not turn your light switch on, it could blow up your whole house. If you accidentally disturb a beehive, do not go underwater, they will just wait for you and sting you more. Run as far away as possible and they will eventually tire out. The more colorful and vivid the animal, the more likely it's poisonous. If your pupil reflects white, like right here, you need to go see a doctor. Something's wrong with your eye. If a tornado looks like it's not moving, it's because it's moving towards you. Follow for more life-saving facts.
These are the most bone-chilling photos on the internet, part 1. This is a picture of a shell-shocked soldier in World War I. This photo is just super chilling, and it really makes you understand how horrible and scary a war is on a soldier. This photo is super sad and chilling. It shows the shadowy imprints of a little girl jumping right before the atomic bomb got dropped on Hiroshima. This little girl was just enjoying her day without a worry in the world, and then suddenly it's just all gone. This photo right here is super creepy. It looks like some sort of torture method, but actually it's a beauty procedure in the 1930s and 40s. I don't know what's more creepy, the fact that they actually did this to people, or just how weird and chilling it actually looks.
I don't know what that was.
Most heavily protected places on the planet, part 10. The DMZ Korea, which is the border that separates North and South Korea. The area is fortified on both sides by barbed wire, razor wire, and electric fences. Tens of thousands of landmines are placed everywhere. The area is patrolled with hundreds of thousands of soldiers equipped with tanks. In addition, there are watchtowers and positioning posts placed every few miles equipped with surveillance systems. In the absence of human contact, has actually created a nature reserve for endangered species.
Really?
You are the only person alive on Earth right now. It's called the egg theory, and what I'm about to tell you will blow your mind. So the theory goes that you are actually the only person alive right now. The only consciousness that actually exists. Everyone else is just a figment of your imagination. Your family, friends, strangers you meet on the street, all because your mind doesn't want to feel alone. But this is the scary part about this theory. Since you are the only true consciousness, you'll live every possible life there is and ever will be. So you'll be reincarnated and reborn billions and billions of times until you lived every single individual's life. And then you'll be able to hatch this egg and become a god. That's the theory. You see, the theory goes that the entire universe was created as an egg for the main character, which is you. And once you have lived every human life ever, you will be born as a god. The reason God created the universe was for the main character to understand this point. Every time you victimize someone, you were victimizing yourself. So be kind to people, and you're being kind to yourself. And no lie, it sounds horrible, but you wouldn't know if you lived billions of lives already. You probably already lived over 1 billion, and you just don't remember it. You probably lived your mom's life, your cousin, the stranger across the street, the blind man you walked past sitting on a bench today. So in actuality, you're me, and I'm you. You're the person in the hospital right now with an unknown disease, or the lady at the store right now buying apples. So every single person you know and ever will know was you.
You guys believe in that theory, Seekers? The egg theory. Sounds like a deep rabbit hole to go down. Reincarnation?
Bizarre facts that'll blow your mind. A bolt of lightning can reach up to 53,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. Researchers found by flossing your teeth, you're actually helping to improve your memory. Jack Daniel, the inventor of Jack Daniel's whiskey, died from kicking a safe with his foot. This caused his toe to break, which ended up getting infected, which ultimately led to his death. Finally, Dwayne Johnson holds the world record for the most selfies taken in 3 minutes with 105.
Really?
Here are the strangest things that were found in the middle of nowhere. Back in 2014, 2 German friends were walking through a forest that they used to play in as kids, when suddenly they noticed 2 pipes sticking out of the ground. They continued to walk until they stumbled upon a hidden doorway that went underground. They entered the creepy corridors until they stumbled into a room that was flooded and had a weird-looking machine. That's when they realized they were in an abandoned control bunker that was used by the Soviets during the Cold War. Next, in 2016, a group was flying in a helicopter over the forest of West Russia, and they spotted another helicopter that was abandoned in a swamp. This turned out to be an Mi-6 model that originated in 1956, and it was the largest and fastest helicopter at the time. It was revealed that the helicopter had been there since 1981, when it traveled from Moscow and it crashed because of engine failure. But thankfully, the crew of it did live to tell the tale. And finally, on Route 90 in Texas, you can find a Prada store that's surrounded by nothing but desert. This was actually art that was made back in 2005 and cost $120,000 to make. Inside the store, there's even real products from their 2005 product collection. But unfortunately, the doors aren't real, so you can't actually buy them.
Your son went missing at a carnival, but your story keeps changing. This is one of the most twisty-turny cases I've ever covered on the pod. So picture the scene. It's 1991 in New Jersey at a carnival, and a 5-year-old boy just totally vanishes. He's just suddenly gone without a trace. It's so disturbing. Everybody's super suspicious of the mum right off the bat because it feels like her story doesn't make sense, and she is getting absolutely hounded by the press and by the public. And she ends up saying publicly, "Do not judge me for the fact that I'm not going on TV crying. That's just not the way that I deal with things." Months and months go on with absolutely no sign of this little boy, and the mum actually ends up moving house because of how much she's hounded at her current property. Some people are suspicious of the dad. Some people are like, well, did the dad have something to do with it? And so the police look into him too. Then, heartbreakingly, we find a body in this case, and then a random, mysterious, exotic dancer enters the mix that was apparently at this carnival. But before the police can work out what the hell this exotic dancer has got to do with anything, there's another disappearance, but this time it's the mum, and she's been kidnapped. All I'm saying is you're gonna need to buckle up for this episode if you need company while you're cleaning the house, or if you've got a long commute. Lock into this podcast episode because I'm absolutely exhausted.
Cannibal facts that'll eat at you for days. If you thought Jeffrey Dahmer was picky for not eating people with tattoos, Venezuelan serial killer Dorangel Vargas, who ate 10 people, didn't like his victims to be overweight because he thought that they contained too much cholesterol. On Thanksgiving Day 1991, 23-year-old Omaima Nelson stabbed her sugar daddy William before carving him up and cooking his head in a deep fryer and eating him for dinner. In the 1970s, Jorge Nevermonte, also known as the Brazilian Sweeney Todd, would bake his victims into pies before selling them to local townsfolk. After murdering and eating his classmate in 1981, Issei Sagawa was released from prison because of a loophole in Japanese law. Since then, he's actually profited off the crime, writing books, appearing on talk shows, and starring in adult films where he bites his fellow co-stars. In 2001, a man named Armin Maiwis posted an ad on a website called Cannibal Cafe looking for someone to be killed and eaten. A German engineer named Bernd Brandis volunteered, and Armin was sent to jail, where today he's a vegetarian. In 1904, a Swedish sailor named Carl Pettersson shipwrecked on an island inhabited by cannibals. He was captured and taken to a local king whose daughter actually fell in love with him. The two then got married, had 9 kids, and Carl became the new king.
You know how things have to line up for that to happen? You get stuck on a stranded island, surrounded by cannibals, and you fall in love with the daughter, you become king. That sounds like a whole movie plot.
You will not sleep after hearing this spine-chilling fact. This is a fat fucking goldfish.
These are people with real-life superpowers, part 2. Daniel Kish lost his eyesight from retinoblastoma before he even turned 1, but he didn't give up and developed a form of echolocation to help him navigate his surroundings, making him the real-life Daredevil. His bat-like technique, where he uses clicking sounds, has also earned him the name the real-life Batman. He trained his brain to differentiate the difference in echoes created by his clicks, allowing him to move around even in crowds. This family in Connecticut has unbreakable bones. The unnamed family has been found to have extremely dense bones, which means they've never had any fractures. When scientists tested out 20 different people from the same family, they found around half of them had extremely dense bones. Scientists think that by studying this family, we can treat many more bone-related issues. And back in 1972, Veronica Sider claimed to see objects that were a mile away. When no one believed her, she was tested. And turns out, she was not able to just see things that far. She could also differentiate between colors, shapes, distance, and position. She was then put in the Guinness World Records as her vision is 20 times more powerful than any other normal human being.
My intuition and listening to my gut feeling saved my life, and this is what happened.
This story gives me chills because had this girl made a different choice on this night, she wouldn't be here telling this story. Alexandra was in high school when her and her friend decided to go out one night and play Pokemon Go. They drove through Central Oregon Community College, which wasn't too far from Alexandra's house, and were notified that there were Pokemons in that area. As they drove through campus, they noticed lights in their rearview mirror, so they pulled over to the side, and it was the campus security guard. A man dressed in a security outfit came to their window and asked them what they were doing, and Alexandra responds that they're just playing Pokemon Go. He tells them that the campus has a curfew and no one's allowed to drive through after 10 p.m. He then proceeds to tell them that he heard that there's a really good Pokemon to catch by the gym and that he was willing to take them there. That's when Alexandra had this weird feeling in her stomach. She told him she'll just come back another day to check it out. The security guard did not take no for an answer and told him that it would only take 5 minutes, but that they had to get out of the car because there was no way of driving to that location. Mind you, at this point it was past 10 p.m. Alexandra said she immediately got chills down her spine, but after repeatedly saying no to him, they were eventually able to leave and go home. When she got home, she could not stop thinking about the entire interaction and how weird it was, so she told her mom. Guys, it wasn't even a week later, Alexandra turned on the news, and turns out a girl was murdered on the same campus, and guess whose photo was shown as the prime suspect? Yep, the campus security guard. And you guys want to know what's super chilling? The murder victim, Kaylee Sawyer, she looked almost identical to Alexandra. The security guard, Edwin Lara, was on the run, but was eventually found and arrested after kidnapping another girl. And it turns out that this was all premeditated, and he was actively looking for a young blonde girl to murder. Now, the case of Kaylee Sawyer is an entire separate story, which has plenty of coverage, but she was walking through campus one night to cool off after a fight with her boyfriend, and that's when Edwin saw her.
Life advice that can save your life one day. If you're trapped underwater and can't tell which way's up, blow out air bubbles and they will always float upwards. If you think someone is in your house, don't turn the lights on. Although it may add comfort, you know your house a lot better than the intruder, so it will be easier for you to navigate an escape route than it will be for the intruder to find you. If you are choking and there's no one around, you can perform the Heimlich maneuver on yourself. Just make a fist and push upwards quickly on the space between your rib cage and your belly button.
There's a lot of misinformation literally everywhere, so I'm here to clear some things up for you guys. All that extra air in your chip bag isn't just chip companies saying fuck you. The air protects the chips from breaking, and a lot of it's nitrogen to keep it from going stale. Dinosaurs aren't extinct. There is zero genetic reason not to classify birds as dinosaurs, because that's what they are. Birds are dinosaurs. You know, man, we only use like 10% of our brains, and you know Einstein, man, he probably used like 12%. Shut the fuck up. That is so wrong. We use all of our brains. We just use different parts at different times. And it's actually pretty common to use 100% of your brain at the same time. It's called having a fucking seizure.
What?
This is part 43 of some of the worst submechanophobia things I've ever seen in my life. When I tell you this is the worst thing I've ever seen, I'm not joking. When I tell you that this is the scariest thing on this entire list that I've ever seen, I'm not joking. I am mostly desensitized to everything else that I have shown you in this list, but this thing haunts my freaking nightmares. So as y'all have seen in previous videos of mine, I have a huge phobia of orcas. I saw this in a video in a compilation one time and I reacted to it for YouTube and I screamed at the top of my lungs. If you want to look on my YouTube, you can. It starts off completely submerged and then it pops out of the water. It is a fake orca with a seal in its mouth. You go through, it's kind of like a dark ride. You go through, you look through the window, and it is massive, life-size orca that pops out. Also, it's abandoned. So it was actually removed in 2012, or at least people thought so. But look at this. It's still visible through the wall. Look at that. And here's what it looks like. Visible through the wall.
Fade it.
This photo makes my stomach drop to the pit of my butt and out. I can't be the only one horrified of this. I just can't be. Watch this. Watch this. Does this scare you?
Submechanophobia. Nah, I've never had that. It's like emerging out of the water. I'm scared of orcas though. Never seen one out. Okay, now imagine that just popped out of nowhere. You had no idea. Got like a, is that a seal in his mouth?
These are the top 5 scariest things to run into in the deep sea, in my opinion. Number 5, sperm whale. Sometimes I forget that the biggest predator on the planet catches bodies in complete darkness where nobody can see it. Believe it or not, I actually love whales. But it's thalassophobia in 5 the day a 50-foot homicidal submarine spawns out of nowhere. Number 4, sea spiders. Technically, they're not even real spiders. Realistically, you don't beat those kind of allegations when you cosplay as a face hugger. Not to mention they eat by injecting and sucking the life force out of their prey until there's nothing left, like whoever Zion Williamson is dating. Oh, also their organs are in their legs, because of course they are. Number 3, worms. Of any kind. For example, the 10-foot bobbit worm who was named after a woman who de-petered her husband, or the bootlace worm, which can be over 150 feet and looks like it was pulled out of Venom's bowels. Yeah. The longest one was 180. Number 2, giant squid, and for one main reason, and you're looking at it. You see, they get hunted by sperm whales, and when the whales are down there, they disturb bioluminescent animals, which causes lights to flash around them, and squids can use those lights to figure out where the sperm whale is in relation to it. But the thing is, they can use that exact same logic to figure out where you are. So if a giant 40-foot squid pulls up on you, that means it saw you way before you saw him. And worse, that means it actively didn't have a reason to hide from you. And that's not a good thing. But number one, and this might be a surprise, the Humboldt squid. Because they've actually been known to attack people. One diver got mauled by a Humboldt and nearly lost his hand. Another diver got attacked by the red spawn of Satan, and she swore that the squid tried to remove her face mask and drown her. But the worst part of it all, they've been known to hunt in groups of up to and over 1,000. And they're the only animal here with the intelligence and intent to try to murk a human. The more you know. Sometimes I wish I didn't.
These are video
Those
games.
squid were trying to take you out.
Half-Life was a first-person shooter released in 1998. It's about a physicist defending the human race from alien beasts. It was called a masterpiece when it was released, except if you lived in Germany. You see, Germany has some of the strictest censorship laws in the world. So in order for the game to sell, they needed to cut down on the violence and bloodshed. So they turned the human enemies into robots, and if you were to shoot at an NPC, they would sit on the ground and shake their heads. While everywhere else in the world, you could physically harm them. Next, the game Shadow the Hedgehog is known by many to be the beginning of the downfall of the Sonic franchise. They took one of the most well-written characters and decided to make him edgy by giving him a gun and having him curse. Believe it or not, Sega wanted to go further with this edginess by originally giving the game a T for teen rating with more violence, more swearing, and we would have seen Shadow's friend Maria get unalived. However, this was changed at the last minute, and the rating then became E for 10+. And lastly, the Mortal Kombat games are known for being insanely violent, which means it's been edited, censored, and banned throughout its 30-year existence. The original game was censored on every platform it came out on, and of course, Germany banned it entirely. And Mortal Kombat 11 was banned in Japan, as well as Ukraine and Indonesia, because of a pre-order skin that showed communist symbols. These are things that are bigger than you think, part 2. This is the world's largest turtle, and when compared to a normal turtle, you can see just how big it actually is. Now, centipedes that we find today are quite small, but in ancient times, giant centipedes like this roamed the earth. Now, we all know how big the Earth is, but 1,300 Earths can fit in Jupiter, and our Sun can easily fit 1,000 Jupiters. But that's nothing compared to VY Canis Majoris. This is a red supermassive star that would take 3 to 9 billion suns to fit. And even this is nothing compared to UI Scuti, which is the largest known non-black hole object in the universe. And this is what that hypergiant star looks like compared to the biggest discovered black hole, Ton 618.
Serial killer facts that will haunt your nightmares. Part 4. Researchers used AI deepfake technology to compile the faces of every serial killer into one man. Dude looks like a psychopath. If you look anything like that, you're probably a serial killer. Serial killer Ed Kemper was friends with the police officers who were investigating his murders. They all hung out at a bar together called the Jury Room. His nickname was Big Ed, and when he confessed to them, they thought it was a joke. Jeffrey Dahmer once made a drink laced with sleeping pills for a guest, but accidentally drank it himself. He later woke up to find that his soon-to-be victim had robbed him while he was sleeping. In 1906, a Moroccan murderer was sentenced to be walled up alive after he was found guilty of killing 36 women. His cries for help were heard for 2 days straight before he went silent.
In the summer of 2021, 15-year-old Ivan Poteshnik was brutally murdered by one of his close friends. This is his story. On May 26, 2021, Ivan was invited over to his friend's house in Taylorsville, Utah. His friend was 17-year-old Rowdy Aguilar, and the two were reportedly really close, having grown up together. That morning, at around 10 a.m., the two were seen entering Rowdy's house on the home security footage. A few hours later, Rowdy was seen leaving the house by himself, carrying a black garbage bag into the field behind his house. Not long after, Rowdy's dad was looking for him inside of a utility trailer on his property when he discovered Ivan's dismembered body and called 911. After searching the property and the field behind Rowdy's house, authorities discovered multiple garbage bags filled with Ivan's dismembered body parts. And after searching Rowdy's bedroom, they found a bloody t-shirt and knife. According to the police, the home also smelled really strongly of cleaning agents. Rowdy was then taken in for questioning, where he initially denied even knowing Ivan, despite the fact that they grew up together. His hands were covered in scratches, and when asked about that, he told authorities that the wounds came from cutting ribs for a barbecue. Rowdy told authorities that he was with his girlfriend the day of the murder, but after police found more of his clothing covered in blood, he confessed to killing Ivan. According to the medical examiner, Ivan was stabbed 26 times in the head, with one final wound to his neck before being dismembered. Rowdy was arrested and has since been charged as an adult with aggravated murder, desecration of a human body, and a few other charges. The trial has yet to take place, and there's still no motive or explanation as to why Rowdy did this to one of his best friends. But according to Ivan's sister, Rowdy told prosecutors that he didn't believe Ivan was human. Ivan was described as having the biggest, most loving heart and was a gentle giant. The 2 years prior to his death, Ivan lost both his mom and his dad to cancer and a heart attack. And as a 15-year-old, that's incredibly hard to go through. He was looking forward to being in high school and playing football and getting a job and just doing kid things. I wanted to include this short clip of Ivan before he died with his grandpa that showed just how caring of a person he was.
Okay? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Not when she fall, I promise that.
She starved her disabled adult daughter to death. 24-year-old Debbie Leach was a disabled woman with Down syndrome, and she lived with and was cared for by her mother, Elaine Clark. 2019, Elaine threw a birthday party for her son, and she told family members that Debbie was in her room and didn't want to speak to anybody. Those family members didn't listen and still went to Debbie's room, and once they opened the door, they were hit with the most disgusting smell. When they looked inside, they saw dirty underwear and rotting food all over the place. Debbie was just lying on dirty bed sheets, calling out to her mother, crying in pain. Debbie's skin was sore, itchy, and covered in scabs. After seeing this, Sammy, who was Debbie's cousin, told Elaine that if she didn't do something, that Debbie was going to die. Elaine just ignored their concerns and told them that Debbie was fine. As soon as Sammy and her mother left the home, they made a report to social services, and once that report was made, Debbie's doctor was going to visit Debbie because of it. In preparation for that visit, Elaine took Debbie a shower. She put her in an oversized hoodie and took her downstairs away from the bedroom. Once Debbie's doctor arrived, he spoke with Elaine, and she spoke for Debbie the whole time. Elaine told the doctor that she didn't know what her family was talking about and that Debbie was incontinent, so that maybe she did dirty her underwear, but she would always change her in a timely manner, and that Debbie was happy, clean, and healthy. At the time, the doctor told Elaine that Debbie's skin looked dry and inflamed, but didn't have any concerns about her and would check in on her in about 2 weeks. A few days after that, a social services worker wanted to check in on Debbie. When they arrived at the home, one of Debbie's sisters opened the door, and she told the workers that they couldn't come in because Elaine wasn't home, so the sister was the one watching Debbie, which actually wasn't allowed. Debbie was never supposed to be in the care of a sibling, but since the worker couldn't go in, they just left. Later that day, Elaine called social services back and told them that Debbie was perfectly fine, but they still wanted to have a meeting. So the day that they had scheduled, Elaine put Debbie in the shower, cleaned her room up, and put her in oversized clothes. Once that worker arrived, they looked at Debbie, and she looked very underweight and skinny, but she was clean, so that was good enough for them. That social worker didn't appear to be alarmed for any reason, so they decided they were going to come back in 2 weeks to check in on Debbie, but Debbie was suffering in silence. August 29th of 2019, a 999 call was made to operators by Elaine telling them that her daughter had been sick for the past couple of days. She told them that Debbie wouldn't eat or drink and she had now passed away. The operator told Elaine to go to her daughter to see if she could resuscitate her to save her life, but she told the operator that Debbie was cold to the touch. When first responders arrived to the home, they went to Debbie's room and they found feces all over the floor and in her bed. Debbie's body was found lying in what they say an unnatural position in the middle of the floor, and there was maggots all over her body. Her face was completely encrusted in scabs and her clothes were dirty and smelly. In fact, her skin was such in a bad condition that her face was unrecognizable, and if they didn't already know who this was, it would have been hard to tell that she was a female. It was clear to investigators that Debbie was neglected and her body was sent for an autopsy. It was revealed at the time of Debbie's death she only weighed 52 pounds and her mother neglected her for months. Elaine was arrested and sentenced to 9 years and 7 months in prison and will only have to serve up to 2/3 of her sentence before being considered to be released.
It's 9 years for what she had done. That don't sound right. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're true seekers seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up, comment down below. You guys are going to catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.